Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in Rome in the year 44 BC. You'll be building structures, placing followers to vote and win majorities, sending legions to conquer regions, trading or collecting items, or even building a pantheon. You'll also be completing secret quests to gain glory points. Age of Rome is a strategic worker placement game for 1 to 4 players. It takes 1 hour to play, it's for ages 14 and up, and published by Totem Game Studios. It's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototypes. They're not final, so check the Kickstarter link in the description below to see all the most up-to-date art and components. The game is played over 9 rounds, and over those rounds, you're trying to score to have the most glory points in the end. Each player is going to get their own player board and their own colored pieces, and each of the player boards is a historical figure. They're all different, and they have some asymmetry. For example, this one starts with 1 point, starts with 7 denarii, and certain things in their boards will activate in different ways as well. So there is some asymmetry to the boards. Now, each of the 9 rounds goes through 4 phases. The first phase is the scheme phase, where an event card will come up and it will tell you a couple of things. First of all, we'll have something that will happen. For example, Follow Glory. Players with the least amount of followers will earn a certain amount of points. So different things will happen and different conditions will happen throughout the game. However, it has an arrow. Sometimes it will have 1, sometimes it will have 2, sometimes it will be going clockwise, sometimes it will be going counterclockwise, and this is hugely important to the unique part of this game. Because you'll notice that this board is made up of 4 different provinces and players sit on the different sides. So if we're sitting here where the camera is, this is the province we're actually doing things with and taking actions and building buildings at different spots this round. However, at the end of the round, because this had 1 arrow clockwise, this is going to turn 1 clockwise, and now next round you're going to be dealing with this. So buildings and things that you build this turn, you might be able to take actions on them this turn, but guess what? You know who's going to be able to use those actions next round because you'll know which way it is going to spin. That's a very unique part of this game. Now there's another step in that phase, but I'll go over it later. The next phase is the building phase, and if you want to, you can spend money, which is denarii, to build a building of different types. Now there are different types and levels of buildings in the game. Now the types are military, religion, politics, trade, and farming, and they all have level 1, 2, and 3, and there's more level 1s and less level 2s and less level 3s, and you can build some of these. Only in your province will you be building, and here are some empty spots that show where these buildings go and the different types. For example, if I wanted to build the level 1 military, it costs 6 denarii, but I'll instantly gain 3 points. Or farming, if I don't have as much money, I could just spend 2 and gain 1 point. So let's say I did that, I spent the 6 denarii, I'll place that here. And these are very interesting transparent tiles because as you upgrade from level 1 to 2 and 3, you're gonna notice the building's getting bigger and bigger. It's a really cool effect. But now, for example, we've built that. But in the future, if someone wanted to build a level 2 here on top of this, they need to spend 11 denarii and then get 5 points. Now you can build as many buildings as you can afford, but every time you build a building, the population in this province is going to go up. So it went up from 1, which is this black number, population, it's going to go up to 2. Now this will be important during the income phase because you're going to be getting income based on this number at the end of the round. We'll go over that later. Now once everyone's had a chance to build buildings, then you're going to go to the action phase where players are going to be placing followers. Everyone starts with just 1 of them. Now, a majority of the time, you're going to be placing your followers on buildings, and depending on that building type, you can carry out a specific action. For example, for military, you have to take one of your legions, and you can either take them from your board like that and place them in one of the 3 different battlefields, or you could take one that's already out there and move it to a different battlefield. Now, this is very important for end game scoring, because for example, at the end of the game, if I have 3 and they have 1, and this shows that you have to have there has to be at least 2 legions here, it will score. I'll get the 5 points because I have more than this player will get 2 points. And you do that for all 3 of the battlefields, only at the end of the game. But there's a twist to the end game scoring. If the 2 that had the most were tied, they keep this place, but they don't score it. I come in 2nd place, I would still get the 2, but these don't get anything. But instead, maybe you place a follower on one of the politics buildings, and this icon matches this in the middle of the board, and you can essentially have a vote there, and you start building a column. However, let's say these two are here before me and I put 3 in a row. If you get 3 in a row, you immediately get 2 glory points. But if a 6th one were to be placed on the top, like that green one, the bottom one, which was the blue one, would get removed because there's never more than 5 there. But it's also important because at the end of the game, depending on where you are on that politics column, this is the bottom, that's the top, you'll get a certain amount of points, depending on where you are in that stack. Or you might place your follower to do the trade action. And you'll draw one of those green cards, and it will be one of many different types of cards. In this case, it's jewelry. Now here, you can only hold up to 5 cards, and some players, like our board, hold 1 anchor card, which kind of clogs your hand up. Now, you can only hold 5 of these, and you can do different things with them. You can play them to activate it, that will give you a certain ability, or you can actually try to get a set of them. So for example, if you have a set of 3 of the same types, green in this case, cards, because there's other types of cards out there, like for example, there's different types. But if you had 3 of the same types, in this case the green types, showing you here the jewels, then you could turn them in and basically create a set, and you'd get 6 points for having this set. But you can only make up to 3 sets throughout the game. Or you could simply discard one of these cards for 1 denarii. Or you might go to the religion building and place your follower there and take the religion action, which allows you to build a base and a pantheon. So when you take this action, you'll start to build it first, the base, and you'll use your color first. So I'll place this the first time I take that action, then the second, and then the third, you take one of the 3 colors, gold, silver, or bronze, and the earlier you get there, the better piece you get. So at this point, I've got the 3 bases built, and as the game goes on, I'll also be building my color pieces on top, as well as when I'm done with that, the last piece will be, again, whatever's available. Gold, silver, or bronze, the gold is worth more points at the end of the game. Because at the end of the game, for each of your player color pieces, you're going to get 1, gold's 4, silver's 3, and 2 is bronze. So you're trying to finish the pantheon and have it be, get there first, because you're going to get the gold pieces, which are worth more. But as I'll show you later, there's ways that you can affect other players' pantheons. Or maybe you're going to be taking the farming action. And that's essentially taking a certain amount of denarii depending on which round section you're in. And you can always place one of your followers in the Colosseum to gain a glory point. Now speaking of these buildings, these are all level 1s, which means only 1 follower can be placed on there. But if you get a level 2, up to 2 followers can be placed there. Level 3, up to 3 followers. So the more the building can be used in a specific round when it has a better level building on it. And speaking of these buildings, when you build a level 3, if you're the first one to do so, you get this medal and it gives you different abilities. For example, in the military, you get to, when you tie in a battle region, you essentially win it. So let's say it was the end of the round, it looked like this. We're going to get to the income phase after the action phases, and let's just say that our population was at 5. You can either take that amount of your population, 5, in denarii, or you can double tax and essentially get double this, which is 10, but you're going to lose 4 points there in the red. So you'd have to go down 4 glory points, but you'd get 10 denarii. Is that worth it? You've got to decide. Now speaking of points, there's different milestones on the score track. As soon as you reach 5, it shows a little gold and a follower here, you'll gain an additional follower, which means you're going to get more followers to place, and that's how you sort of gain more workers, if you will. Now, let's say I was here, let's say both of us were here, and I moved up. Each of the other spots, there's 3 other spots on the board, and when you get to this milestone marker, not only are you going to get a follower, but then this goes down 1. And then this player was here, they're going to get a follower, and this goes down here. So it's sort of, as you get there and people get there, it's going to sling it down and down to help the other players further back sort of catch up and get followers quicker than you had gotten them. And as you can see, there's different spots on the board where this will happen. Now after that, remember, the board is going to shift either 90 or 180 degrees in a specific way, depending on what that event card at the beginning was pulled. In this case, 90 degrees clockwise there, which means these buildings are going to now be okay with my player to my left, and I'm going to be getting whatever there is on the right. And it's going to give you a different strategy, and you're looking ahead and trying to think about next round as well, and there's a lot of strategy in that. But instead of spinning this like we normally would, let me tell you about some of these other spaces that you could possibly place followers on. These ones are known as schemes. Now players also have 3 scheme markers on their player board that matches the logo. And on your turn, you can place your scheme marker there, and you can place your follower right on it to denote that you placed it this round. So let's say it was the next round. This had spun over to the next player. Now during the scheme phase, the first thing you do is bring out an event card, which I had sort of talked about as well, but I also told you that there's something else that happens. And this is the point where players can activate schemes. And if so, let's say this player here is sitting here as the green player, and I activate it. Now they'll have different logos on here in the final product, but this shows you that this has been activated. Now let's look at what happens. Now what that does is allows this player who activated the scheme to take their feud marker and they would place it on the leftmost side of the other player, the green who had acted against. Now, these are also going to be screen printed as well. Now, what does this do? These are bonus markers, and by the way, these are actually going to have the logos of the actions that are below it. In the final version, this is just clearly a prototype. But what this does is now, what this did is it took a feud off mine and put it on theirs. Now, any open bonus action, again, it would look like this or like this. When you take that action, you get to do an additional one, and then you sort of get rid of that bonus action. So instead of just doing a one politics, if I have this on there, I get to do it twice with one action. Here with military. And now these are open, but I just place this on here so he doesn't have access right now to any of his bonus actions, but if he activated one on me, it would go like this, opening this for him, closing this one for me. So it just allows you to mess with players' actions. Plus, each player has the same 2 actions. When you activate that feud during the scheme, you get to do one of these actions. This one's just get a point. We talked about earlier about changing or messing with somebody's pantheon. This allows you to remove one of their player piece colors from their pantheon on an unfinished, meaning either the base is not finished, or if the base is finished and the top is not finished, you can do that. And then each player has a specific different ability on the bottom. Like this one allows them to remove a legion of another player in the battlefield, which is good for endgame points as I showed you, and place one of their own. Now, another way to score points in the game is by quests. You're dealt some of these at the beginning of the game, and you get to keep 2 of them. Now, they're secret throughout the game, but they'll give you points at the end if you fulfill them, like if you earn the trade medal, meaning you're the first one that had built the level 3 trade building. Or if you're wealthier than all the other players, have more denarii than everyone else, you'll get 5 points, 5 points. So different ways to try to get points and give you some longer term strategy. Now, in a nutshell, that's pretty much how the game's played at the end of the 9th round. After you do all the end game scoring that I've already talked about from each of the actions, whoever has the most glory points in the end is the winner. Well, there you have the Age of Rome, and as I showed in the overview, it packs a lot of strategy in just 1 hour of gameplay. Now, if you'd like to see all the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and it will take you to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure that Teetotum Game Studios would love your support.